as she does every Monday at this time, the editor-in-chief over at the Rockland Business Journal. It's Tina Traster. Good morning, Tina. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I am enjoying all the blooms, except that they're having their way with me. So if I do a bit of coughing, it's not because I'm choking on a bagel or anything.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind.
Let's hope, because if you do start choking on a bagel, there's no way we can help you, because you told us that you're not choking on a bagel.
No. All right.
You okay?
So,
okay.
Speaking of a bagel, wanted to remind everybody that meet and greet with the editor at 8:30 a week from Tuesday at Roasted in Nanuet, the coffee shop. Come on down. Lots to talk about. Really looking forward to our first meet and greet.
How long will you be there? Like, you'll be there at 8:30 till about when?
I plan to make it a neat hour so that people get accustomed to let's do this within an hour and we can all get out and get on with our day. But if I'm horribly fascinated with the crowd, we could go a little bit longer. So let's see what happens.
All right.
A week from Tuesday, and I'll remind everybody again next Monday.
Excellent.
Over the weekend I had the privilege of visiting a beautiful place called Newcastle in the great state of Delaware. And Newcastle, the one-time capital of the state of Delaware, is, think Williamsburg, Virginia, only a place absolutely real. This place is a completely intact collection of federal colonial-era buildings, magnificent structures, cobblestone streets, a view of Delaware Bay. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous and invigorating. I mean, I don't think that you have to be a deep history buff to appreciate landing in a place like this and being able to feel the magnificence of this country and our deep roots, and most importantly, and why I'm raising this, is efforts to preserve history. Just yesterday, we posted a story that went out this morning about the what's known as the Crow House. It's also known as the Henry Varnum Poor House. Some people might know it that way. This is a sandstone house that is in Clarkstown, but near the Ramapo border, that is not only architecturally significant, but also has the deep history of being built by and owned for a long time by the renowned 20th century artist, architect, creator, and thinker, Henry Varnum Poor. Also related to the Standard & Poor people, but that's besides the point. Anyway, this house, and I'm gonna refer to it from here on as the Crow House because that's easier. This house was a gathering for very famous people like Burgess Meredith and Maxwell Anderson and Kurt Weill and a lot of other artists and composers and activists and writers in the 20th century. And in 2007, Poor's son Peter sold the house and the 6.4 acre property for $1.3 million to the town of Ramapo, which used $500,000 in state funding for the purchase. Former Ramapo supervisor Christopher St. Lawrence at the time said, "Crow House is a piece of artwork. It's a cultural imperative that we save it." Unfortunately, Ramapo, in its 17 years of ownership, has not done a thing, not a thing to save this piece of our history here in Rockland County. There is, of course, a foundation, and the foundation has been hoping against any sort of success that Ramapo would eventually step up and do what it had tasked itself to do. That has not happened in 17 years. And now what we've written about this morning is that the foundation is hoping to convince possibly the town of Clarkstown or a day to step in and save this gem. They've collected over 1,000 petition signatures. They have letters expressing this desire, and they really want to make sure that this beautiful property, which really has the potential to be turned into some sort of a living museum or an artist residence or some kind of a structure, that's part of the history, the storied history of South Mountain Road, where many artists, have lived. So right now, we checked in with Clarkstown, Ramapo, and the county, and it's kind of looking grim, which I find to be unfortunate. The feedback from Ramapo is we're only too happy to unload the house, to sell the house, to get rid of the house. The question is who's going to buy it. So there had been some thinking that perhaps Clarkstown or Clarkstown in combination with the county might do what they did to save the Cropsey house and barn in New City in 2006. The county and the town of Clarkstown became joint owners of that property, and that has rescued a farm, the Cropsey house, and more recently the barn. So that's an example of preservation that goes right. This house, I think this foundation and others who are concerned about preservation are rightly worried because, as I said, Ramapo's response to this is we just want to unload it. Clarkstown did not get back to us, but we do know that they had told Claire Sheridan, who comes on this radio show and does a program, that there wasn't any interest right now in trying to save the house. And even the county, even though this foundation has put in some sort of an application for open space preservation, which, as you know, we've been reporting on the Gordon property, a lot of open space, and that's a vital program. They too have not acknowledged that they're aware that this house is looking for those kind of dollars that are part of the open space acquisition program. By the by, the house is adjacent to open swaths of land, so the foundation actually views this as a larger goal, what they call an intermunicipal open space and historic district. The bottom line here is this is one house on a 6-acre piece of property in New City, but its larger significance and its bigger context is when we have these kinds of highlights, these kinds of precious things in our community, they are magnets for tourism. They are often used. They stimulate the art community. The art community is always a driver of the larger community. We could look at the Hopper House, and while Henry Varnum Poor wasn't as renowned, let's say, as Edward Hopper was, he still had a significant impact, and his works are still in collections around the world in places like the Art Institute of Chicago, the Metropolitan, the Whitney, Brooklyn, Newark, all over the world. So, this wasn't just some guy, spinning a pottery wheel at home. This was a guy who has left his mark, and the house is here in Rockland County, and there's certainly a very deep and rich story to be told. The house bears saving. One question that we couldn't exactly iron out is whether or not this house could be transferred back to a foundation or a private buyer, or whether because it had been sold to Ramapo and with state funds, whether or not it has to be taken up by another municipal entity. I admit that I reached out to the state. I don't have an answer to that question, but this sale certainly would have to involve the New York State Historic Preservation Office, and what Claire Sheridan has said is that they've indicated that they would certainly be open to a transfer from one municipality to another. So I guess the bottom line here is that I think it takes the voices of citizens to press this, and to if it's a priority, if it's something people care about, they need to ask their town or county leaders to get on it. We know in Clarkstown, for example, in recent years, Clarkstown has snapped up the Grace Baptist Church, the Rockland Country Day School, a piece of property on Mountain View Avenue in Valley Cottage known as Bear Swamp.
You bring up an interesting point there, Tina. And we're running out of time, but I had a question on that point that you're making now real quick. Is it odd that the town of Ramapo would purchase a piece of property or a house in a neighboring town? Is that common?
No, that was strange. I think it was down to Christopher St. Lawrence and the vision that he must have had, recognizing the house is very near the border of Ramapo, and
but clearly not in Ramapo.
Clearly not in Ramapo. It is odd. It's extremely odd. But it was bought and it has sat. And 17 years ago, the repair might have been $50,000. And today the estimate is that it would be 10 times that.
Oh, my God.
This is the consequence of government inactivity. And, for those who really regard...
or overactivity. I mean, why buy the house to begin with if you're not going to do anything with it?
Well, like we look at the Rockland Country Day School site and the Grace Baptist Church site. I mean, same difference in a sense is that they've sat. They haven't been able to... I think sometimes you have towns that have a vision or have a reason or maybe a political motivation for snapping up a site or a piece of land, and then when it comes to the real execution, that just it starts to fall down on the agenda on the priorities list, and it goes further down until it becomes invisible, until there's no more public pressure about it. So, bottom line here is we've got an asset in the county. It's a football, but so, I think somebody, should step up.
And maybe somebody will. Hey, Tina, thank you so much for joining us as always. Visit, for those of you listening, if you haven't visited rcbizjournal.com, I suggest you do. Sign up for newsletters. And next Tuesday, you can see her at the Roast in Nanuet, right? Or Roasted.
Roasted. Roast, apostrophe, D.
Nice. Very clever. Roasted in Nanuet next Tuesday, and we'll hear more about that on Monday when you're on again. Thank you so much, Tina. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.